Hi, this is Cheryl Gallant, your Conservative Member of Parliament for the truth-seeking riding of Renfrew-Nipissing-Pembroke. Reporting this week in the Globe and Mail confirms a media story from the Hill Times in December. The Liberals' firearms policy is being directed by the powerful gun control lobby. In the Globe and Mail story, an unnamed government official said, quote, "The definition used in the first section of the amendments was created after gun control advocates raised concerns that the 2020 definition was not broad enough." End quote. Later in the same article, a Liberal staffer went on to the record, quote, "Alex Cohen, a spokesperson for Mr. Mendicino, said in a statement that the government's amendments respond to requests from the gun community dating back to the first ban in 2020." End quote. Take a look at that quote again for another example of Liberal disinformation. The Liberals are claiming it was, quote, "the gun community asking for these amendments to ban popular hunting rifles." This just confirms what a member of the powerful anti-gun lobby told the Hill Times in December. The anti-gun lobbyist said, quote, "Mendicino's team had promised an evergreen definition would be part of the government's gun control package, even though the original text of Bill C-21 did not include it when it was tabled in Parliament on May 30th. She said Mendicino confirmed this promise to her group and to other gun control supporters in person when they stood behind him at a press conference later that day, and that she took this as a promise that government would amend the bill. End quote. So, the powerful anti-gun lobby extracted a promise from the Liberals to widen the ban on hunting rifles. And the government complied fully. Let's be clear. Every Canadian has the right to lobby the government. Every Canadian has the right to join with other Canadians to lobby the government. And in a democracy, they have every right to push misguided policies based on intense emotion. At least the anti-gun lobby is honest in its desire to ban firearms, unlike their Liberals and their allies in the legacy media. The real question is, how does such a small group of lobbyists hold this much power over the Liberal policy agenda? As many have noticed, the Liberals only care about headlines. Former Trudeau Finance Minister Bill Morneau recently confirmed this in his memoir. With these Trudeau Liberals, the announcement is the policy. It's been 3 years since they first announced their plan to confiscate 15 types of firearms. As the parliamentary budget officer recently confirmed to my office, the Liberals still do not have a plan or a budget to confiscate legally purchased property. Yet Liberals like the parliamentary secretary to Mendicino continue to spread lies about Liberal policy. Here's a tweet in which she pushes misinformation about their confiscation plan and invents a new Liberal conspiracy theory about firearms. This tweet is just another in a long line of Liberal conspiracy theories about hidden agendas. Liberals believe in conspiracy theories about hidden agendas, public service sabotage, and supremacist infiltration of the military. Remember, Liberals always accuse others of what they themselves are guilty of. Their conspiratorial views are rooted in paranoia and fueled by the legacy media. This leads Liberals to deploy their favorite propaganda trick, accusation in the mirror, or what psychologists refer to as projection. Anytime a conservative points out the truth about Trudeau's plans, the Liberals accuse them of spreading conspiracy theories. In 2020, I said the Liberals had an agenda to legalize hard drugs. In response, Trudeau's attack dogs accused me of pushing anti-Semitic conspiracy theory. Media outlets such as the Canadian Press pushed this liberal conspiracy theory. The Liberals and their media allies did this despite the fact that a Liberal MP and one of Trudeau's hand-picked radical senators had both introduced legislation to make hard drugs effectively legal. Now, Trudeau's moving ahead with his radical, dangerous agenda by legalizing hard drugs in British Columbia. Drug overdoses are at all-time highs. Trudeau's plan is to give drugs to addicts. New Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre wants to offer addicts treatment. Trudeau's legal drug plan is being called safe supply. This is another perversion of the English language. There's no such amount of heroin. There's no safe amount of crack. You may have recently heard in the news that the global consulting firm McKinsey received over $100 million in contracts from Trudeau. What you may not have heard is that McKinsey paid a $600 million fine in the United States for its role in creating the opioid epidemic. McKinsey and their pharmaceutical giant client flooded North America with a safe supply of opioids. The result was skyrocketing rates of addiction and a drop in U.S. life expectancy. Increasing the supply of dangerous drugs such as heroin and fentanyl is not safe. It'll fuel addiction and despair. Unlike BC, Alberta is taking a different approach. Instead of safe supply, they're investing nearly $2 billion to create more addiction treatment spaces. Here in Ontario, it can cost a family $30,000 to get a loved one into treatment. Rather than listen to addiction experts, the socialists are trying to silence anyone not on side with legalizing hard drugs. People suffering from addiction need treatment, not drugs. Conservatives have a plan to create more addiction treatment centers. The Liberals have a plan to create more drug addicts. This week, over 600 CEOs, cabinet ministers, and Klaus Schwab are gathered in Davos, Switzerland for the annual World Economic Forum, WEF for short. The Liberals and their allies in the legacy media will be on high alert to denounce critics of the WEF as conspiracists. The problem is the World Economic Forum is not a conspiracy. Yet the legacy media continue to destroy trust with their audiences by claiming it's a conspiracy. Everyone can go online and watch the forum. WEF members are not hiding in back rooms, secretly plotting. They're on stage, in front of the cameras, talking about their agenda openly. Every year, they try to come up with a new marketing name for their agenda. In 2020, it was called the Great Reset. This year, they're calling it the New System. Davos is the intersection of executive government, global finance, management consulting, and international organizations. It's a forum for reproducing systemic elitism. You can draw a straight line from Davos to the Finance Minister Freeland's latest brainwave, the Canada Growth Fund. But first, let's take a look at this year's themes. Here's what the World Economic Forum management consultants, armed with the latest buzzwords, wrote about the program for this year. Quote, "Therefore, thematically, the program will have the dual focus of looking at levers to address the current challenges while at the same time setting them against the backdrop of attendant system transformation imperatives." End of quote. That's the kind of management consultant newspeak that has George Orwell spinning in his grave. You may recall, Pierre has a plain language policy. The Liberals sneered at him and tried to suggest he was actually racist for speaking clearly. Of course, the Liberals hate plain language. If the Liberals ever had to explain in clear language their actual policies, nobody would vote for them again. But as Pierre pointed out, this type of management consultant gobbledygook is meant to create an elite caste who can speak and understand it. By larding up the language with buzzwords, they try to create the impression they're smart and sophisticated, when really all they're doing is repacking worn-out cliches. That's how the Great Reset becomes recycled into the new system. Take a look at the World Economic Forum agenda. Quote, 1. Addressing the current energy and food crises in the context of a new system for energy, climate, and nature. Addressing the current high inflation, low growth, high debt economy in the context of a new system for management, trade, and infrastructure. 3. Addressing the current industry headwinds in the context of a new system for harnessing frontier technologies for private sector innovation and resilience. 4. Addressing the current social vulnerabilities in the context of a new system for work, skills, and care. Addressing the current geopolitical risks in the context of a new system for dialogue and cooperation in a multipolar world. End quote. There are no new systems. It's a lie the global elite are telling themselves so they can sleep at night. They want to reduce the world into systems they can design and control. But the world is messy and chaotic. The founding idea of progressivism is that humans can be molded into something new and better with just the right system. Conservatives point to 5,000 years of recorded human history and say, that's not how the world works. Davos is the progressive Mecca, where their high priests gather to update the hymn book. That's why progressive global elites all sound the same, singing Build Back Better in unison. It's how we end up with the Canada Growth Fund. It's designed by management consultants. It'll be staffed by professionals from the global finance industry. It's being justified as a part of the just transition. It's exactly the kind of public-private partnership which defines Davos and the World Economic Forum. The Liberals and their legacy media allies will call this a conspiracy theory, but nobody is claiming this is some hidden agenda. This is all in the open, and anyone can see it with their own two eyes if they're willing to see the truth. Speaking of a truth out there for all to see is the truth behind the just transition agenda, which has been in the news lately. Regular viewers might remember, but Liberals and NDP have been just calling for a just transition for some time now. Incredibly, the NDP are smart enough to know they shouldn't mention the socialism part out loud. The Liberals, not so much. Take a look.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise today on behalf of constituents in my riding that are petitioning the government to introduce just transition legislation. They note in the petition that they are looking for a 60% reduction in emissions below 2005 levels, to wind down the fossil fuel industry and requisite end fossil fuel subsidies, to create new public economic institutions to expand public ownership of utilities, legislation to protect workers, Indigenous rights, sovereignty and knowledge, and also to expand the social safety net and new income supports in lieu of a transition to a low-carbon economy. So I'm happy to present this on behalf of my constituents in my riding. Thank you.
That's right. You just saw a Liberal clearly say they want a just transition to socialism. You can be sure the legacy media will never show you that clip. If you want your friends to know the truth about the liberal agenda to just transition us to socialism, be sure to like and share this video. And remember, according to Vladimir Lenin himself, the goal of socialism is communism. Live from Ottawa, this is Cheryl Gallant.